again, I didn't even introduce myself before. My name is Carolyn Mair, and I'll tell you a little story. So again, thanks for coming. And a little bit over a year ago, I was in a really, really, really tough space. And I started sharing this downstairs in Sacred Space. And I was sick. It was really body, mind, and spirit. I just kind of crashed. And I didn't know what to do. I was in such a place, so much pain, that spirit, and I kind of write for divine inspiration. And as I was writing, spirit said, call Patricia, call Patricia. And I knew Patricia. I'd worked with her a little bit before and wanted more, but I knew that I could trust her. And I just wanted to ask her what I could do, because I was painfully stuck. And so basically, instead of calling, I wrote her an email. She answered immediately. This was a Sunday night. She answered immediately, and she said, "Dear one, can you come at 8 in the morning? I am booked all day long, but I have an hour before I start at 9 o'clock." And it was just when this space had opened up. So they had just all moved in, and I met with her. And I was in so much pain. I just had Kleenexes everywhere. She helped me so much. She was so empowering to me. And I can tell that story a little bit more, those of you who go into the book study. But that made such a radical difference, because she asked me basically if I was happy, and just some of the decisions, some of the settling that I was doing, and introduced me to radical forgiveness. I signed up for the one-on-one CFIA, so I'm a student and a teacher, and also the healing ministry, and my life is totally different because of radical forgiveness and just being here amongst the people. So that's why I'm sharing this today. Also, I'll share a real quick one. Is last week, this is a much more lighthearted one. My family was here, and our grandchildren were here, and we were having fun. We went to the coast, so we took them to the trampoline place. It's really, really busy going in and out. And anyway, long story short is, another woman and I backed into each other. And this is what's hilarious about it. We both have backup cameras on our vehicles.
Yeah.
But the thing in the past, I really judged myself pretty harshly. I think most of us do many times. And I had a driving phobia, and so you would think that backing up, even though it was just a little dent, that I would just, judge myself really strongly. Well, the girl in the other car, she came up and she went, "You weren't even backing up when I started." And she was just really very, 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 very upset. And in that moment, I just took a deep breath, and I just sent her love and peace. And I had the wherewithal. I guess I've been doing this enough and building up my forgiveness, especially the self-forgiveness muscle, that I just took a deep breath and we exchanged information, but she settled right down. And that's completely different. May not sound like a big thing, but in the past I would have been just beside myself, probably not been able to talk. I had a driving phobia, and I got home and I called our insurance people, called our insurance person, and it was before 5 o'clock. It was a gal that I know, a young gal. She was so sweet, and she said, "Oh, parking lot accidents, there's always no fault." And, it was just, we were lightheartedly, just talking about it, and it was over with. It was like, okay, I shared it with my husband, who was gone at the time, and not a biggie. For me, it would have been a biggie in the past. So anyway, it just has brought a lot of lightheartedness into my life, and especially the self-forgiveness, which I've really been working on. So this is the book that I started with. There's a lot of other things that we can do. There's a ceremony, a healing ceremony that we're going to be having, but I am going to be starting out with the Radical Forgiveness book, and it's Making Room for the Miracle, which absolutely it is. Colin Tipping is the creator. He's English. He does this all around the world. Pretty amazing. This is the school that I'm graduating from, the Institute for Radical Forgiveness, Trademark Therapy and Coaching Incorporated. In just another month, I'll be a certified Radical Forgiveness Therapy practitioner. And I'm going to go on and do the advanced training also, but excited to bring that here. So, just wanted to ask you, why do we want to forgive? Or, why did you come? Anybody willing to share?
I noticed that
yes.
in those situations that
I spend a lot of time
forgiving others. I spend a great deal of time beating myself up. And since I'm supposed to love myself and be my own best friend, I certainly wouldn't want a friend to treat me the way I do. And I think it just to be able to step past that and to realize that what happened, and like today she explained that was part of your path, I can move forward because I'm stuck. And several weeks ago when I came over here, I just walked up to Patricia and said, I'm lost, will you help me get found?
That is so powerful. Thank you for your willingness to share that. I got chills. And that, I know that feeling because that's where I was a little over a year ago. So we want to forgive.
And I'm more than willing to give it up. See her.
So I'm going to say to get unstuck. And I would also say, I think self-forgiveness is a biggie. That's what I had too, and you said that so nicely, is that I've usually been able to forgive others, but boy, do I hold a lot against myself. And this really goes into that too, how we judge ourselves and how that impacts us physically, emotionally, spiritually. And what are the benefits of forgiveness? Anybody want to share what you hope to get out of it as you learn more about it?
One of the things that I notice is that sometimes it's easier to forgive others because it's almost like using it to where you laugh with yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really honest.
Ooh.
If people, would say, oh, I forgive that person for this and this and that, and then it stops there. No, it doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
The gold nugget and the truth is that if you just let that person go completely and just say, you know what, okay, this is what's my experience, and it's not really about them. What's my experience? And go in there and you're going to find a juicy gold nugget.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get in touch with yourself. And it may be something that's beautiful, it may be something that's painful, but it's something that's real. And in those types of processes, that's when you become that self-aware, and you become that love. You touch that compassion and that love on the inside of you. And I believe that that's what it's all about, is being able to show ourselves compassion and actually being that. Because if we're not experiencing that in and of ourselves, it's not happening out there.
Absolutely.
We're not connecting with it on any level with anybody. So you take it how far you want to go with it.
I think that is so beautifully said. I was going to say, you could come on up here and take over. But that's really true. It's the golden nuggets are inside, and to know that it's all been there inside for us in every moment. All my life I've been looking out here, and it's like I keep on taking classes and learning and get certified in this and get a master's in that. And I'm glad I did that because it's all part of an experience, as Patricia would say. But it didn't really fill me up until I started to learn that the gold is inside, and that I needed to learn not only to love myself, but to accept myself, and to have forgiveness for myself, and to have compassion for myself. And that's where this has brought me, and I work on the tools daily for it. So thank you. I guess we pretty much answered what true forgiveness does for us. Did you have something else that you wanted to say, Amanda?
Well, you were asking, what brought me here, or what brought us here. And first of all, I just wanna say I love being in this space with people like you, because it's true heart. It's really beautiful. You don't see that. I don't get to see that in many of the areas that I've been working in. I'm more of a coach, and I have an online community. And I got introduced to radical forgiveness because there was a expert that I had in that community that shared a piece of this, and I got to experience it, and so did my community get to experience it too. And what I loved about it was that the one that she walked us through was think about the mother in your life, or someone in your life. I don't remember if it was mother or not, but that's how I equated it. It was my mom, and it was forgiving her for all of these things that I felt like victimized in.
Mm-hmm.
But the power was when the exercise switched over to me having to forgive myself of the same exact things. And I was like, just like tears just like rushing down, because we don't realize that can be we can victimize ourselves when all we simply have to do is turn it around and forgive ourselves and allowance. So when I saw this, I thought, it's such a powerful exercise, and I wanted to learn more about it and other opportunities to pass on.
Thank you, Amanda. And you do such beautiful work too. I was able to check out your website, and I was just thinking, oh my goodness, this on
It's a
top
good
of what
fit.
else you have to offer is pretty amazing. This is interesting. I see that I only have one S there.
Forgiveness, that's good stuff.
So talking about the difference between traditional forgiveness and radical forgiveness. In traditional forgiveness, we kind of think, well, we'll let bygones be bygones. And that's okay, but that only goes so far, because we believe something bad happened. It's like, with the fender bender in the parking lot, or even in my relationship that I was coming to Patricia, that I was so stuck. I thought something bad happened. And that's because we're thinking of ourselves as victims. He did it to me. She did it to me. She ran into me. And the scale, depending upon, we have a desire to forgive, don't we? It's like, if we don't forgive, it's like need to condemn. That's the one that fits there. That's like drinking poison in hope it hurts somebody else.
Oh boy, in more ways than one.
Yes.
You have no idea.
Yes.
Wasn't
And
the other guy bad.
so if our need to condemn, in many times in this world, our human self, it's like, how can you forgive that? How can you forgive murder? How can you forgive, severe abuse of all kinds? And the need to condemn gets really out of balance for our desire to forgive. It kind of really blocks us from it.
It can even actually turn into basically bold-faced lies
Yes,
that you're telling yourself
yes,
over and over and over again.
yeah. That's very, very true. Radical forgiveness. These are the points. This is what I loved about it. It's virtually instantaneous. When you get it and make a choice, and all you need to do is be a little bit willing. That's all. You don't even have to understand it. it really doesn't make much sense. That's why it's radical. And it's more on a energetic, spiritual level than it is on a human level. But it encompasses everything, but it's a higher level. So it's easy to do if we do it, if we choose. As Patricia would say, we have choice. It can be achieved by anyone using very simple tools. You don't have to be highly educated. You don't have to be a master. Anyone can do it if they want to and they're willing. It's not so much something we do, rather it's a spiritual viewpoint we are willing to take. And isn't this a wonderful group here? Because I think, I think almost all of us are, definitely on that path and seeking more for our spiritual growth. Belief is not necessary. I like that. It can be really skeptical. Just the willingness to try using the tools. So it's like to all the beautiful, beautiful flow that's coming to us that's always been here. Let's say it's a beautiful flow of fresh, clear water. And we've got it all plugged up. There's dirt and rocks and pebbles and sticks. And all we need is a little tiny willingness. And with that little willingness, we can just knock away a few of those things that are plugging it up. And it starts that flow, that beautiful fresh flow that's here for us. We just get unstuck, and so we're flowing again. I love it. Radical forgiveness is experienced as a shift in consciousness. And aren't we all about consciousness? A movement of energy within ourselves. So it's really within ourselves again. Such changes begin to look like miracles. And they truly, truly have in my life. So, never knew I could switch from one to the other. So I love this because it's versus. Here's the traditional forgiveness, what it looks like, and the radical forgiveness. So the traditional forgiveness, we look at the world of humanity, or ego, versus the world of divine truth, or spirit.
Bingo, divine truth.
And that's why it's so powerful. Low vibratory rate with traditional, high vibratory rate. I can feel it. It's like, the other, it's like, it's not true. And it feels heavy. Just feels heavy, especially those self-judgment things that we put on ourselves. And, once we just open up that flow, it's much lighter. It's like,
And I believe that in all energy, our energy bodies, that is absolutely correct. And I also believe that if one were to continue telling the victim story or whatever story they want to align themselves with in their life, it will actually metastasize physical disease in their body. So I believe that getting down to the divine truth of things is very, very important, because I know for me, there's things that I've held on to that absolutely were not true. They were not in my best interest. They were not okay to hold in my vibration any longer. And as a result of going back, and it wasn't just skipping some things. No, it was literally going back through each thing that I had told myself repeatedly over and over and over and saying, it's time to let that go. That is really not true anymore. And having that consciousness shift that you're talking about.
and asking that question, is
Yes.
it true? And that's just so various bodies, pretty amazing. Okay, something wrong happened. He did this to me. Versus nothing wrong happened. Judgment based versus we get to be free. Judgment and blame free. Wow. And that's a powerful, powerful freedom. The victim consciousness, and we as humans, that's, we tend to do that. Versus, I love this, grace consciousness. We can judge our human imperfection or somebody else's, or we can accept our human imperfection. all part of being human. Physical reality only. Radical forgiveness is metaphysical realities.
Forgiving the soul.
You and I are separate versus you and I are one. Just exactly what Patricia was talking about. And our songs. Need to figure it out. That was always me. Need to figure it out. What am I going to do now? Versus surrendering to what is, as is. Becoming more an observer in the moment. You know, I don't have to judge it. And I'm going to give you those 4 steps that we can use, and it just will immediately, each moment, you can clear what's blocking you. Life is random events. Radical forgiveness is life is purposeful. Personality, ego in control. I used to feel that way. I got to get it all figured out. And especially with doing this, it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't quite graduate yet, and can I possibly do this? And all that stuff, you know, goes around. And here I've been a teacher for 30 plus years, and I still wonder. So, really, really, really very negative. Thinking that he had to soul following divine plan.
Have you ever used the breakdown of ego as easing God out?
Ooh.
Edging God out, I've heard of that
Yeah,
too.
easing God out.
Yeah.
edging
I don't,
God out.
honestly, I don't think the ego's a bad thing as long as it's in
No.
balance. I think it's necessary.
Yes, it is. I agree with you, Dree. I really do, because it's all a part of it.
It's a part of survival.
However, we don't have to let it be in control.
Right.
I can say to my ego, I can say, it's okay, you know, I'm following my divine plan, and because that kind of keeps us, it's kind of the language for us. But to really listen to our soul, and that was why I came last year to talk to Patricia, because my soul was going, oh my,
Yeah.
you need to ask for help.
Question. So, this, you know, feeling like you need to control, basically, when it comes down to basic survival, physical survival, not spiritual or emotional or spiritual, you know, metaphysical, but physically being able to make your payments and do all these things that are logistical in this plane, but also following that divine path and that plan, I think that can be really, really hard. It's really hard for a lot of my clients, and I've had that issue too. So I'm just curious, just to take a moment, is there anything you can speak to on that?
Well, if that's a really, really good question, and it's a good point. I wanted to say that. But I really picked up on the one of the things for me that seems to be one of the last things in abundance in my life. Mm-hmm. It's like relationships and health, you know, immediately switched when I started doing this work, which is about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the last year has been dramatic. But the one that still is there is the financial one.
Right.
And it's interesting because people show up differently, and that happens to be a personal one with mine. I was raised with, we were always going to lose the farm. And so you have to work hard, and you can never even ask for a nickel for something. I mean, because how dare you do that? Very, very scary around finances. My husband was raised the same. Very, very scary. And so we married each other. Isn't that interesting?
No.
And we were soulmates. You know, we were high school sweethearts. And our paths, energetically and perhaps spiritually, are really taking a different direction. And yet we're really honoring where the other is at. But that is the one that, you know, I know that it's all here for us. You know, it's all here for your clients too. You know, talking about, you know, gas is expensive, and, you know, the reality gets in there. And it's how do we let go of those things that are, again, the flow, you know, taken out of the flow. And so I think that it's all part of the forgiveness and letting go, looking to see what's here now, and of course, having that intention, being so grateful, and that's what I do. I'm so grateful for that divine exchange of energy,
Right.
and that's what's really different with my husband too. He goes, "Oh, this costs this much," and I'll just go, "Oh, wow, isn't that wonderful? You know, you got to get a new boat motor, and now you can be out in the ocean, and you don't have to worry about it dying," which it had done out there. And isn't that wonderful? So being grateful. And I think he thinks, "Oh, yeah, right." But I think it's all part of the process, but I understand that it is a tough one. Because, again, he comes from a place, I used to think that if I showed up like he did, then I would be all grown up and my life would be perfect. Because I'm pretty random abstract, and he's very much concrete sequential. And, you know, what the world says, what we're taught in our, you know, competition, there's not enough, not going to be enough, money doesn't grow on trees, that sort of a thing. And for me, it's definitely a process, but I know, I have this knowing. I no longer have this, like, you know, is it ever going to be different? And so I don't know if that,
Yeah,
I just wanted to touch upon it because it was such a good question.
Yeah, thank you.
So, reality is what happens. Ooh, I love this. Reality is what we create. I believe that we're co-creators each day in our life. How about death is real versus death is an illusion? And so those are the distinctions between traditional and radical forgiveness. This is one I kind of love.
Energy blocks.
Yep. And here is our soul, and this one is, you know, we have to be in both, and that kind of, Amanda, that kind of goes to what your question was too, is we're in the world of humanity and also the world of divine truth. And our soul, you know, is there. We're the healthiest if we're the most balanced in both worlds. You know, I can be in this human world and I don't have to judge what's going on right now. And again, the 4 steps I'll be bringing you to in a little bit. But when the energy, just what you were saying, energy blocks, when the energy flows freely from the emotional field through the etheric field and the physical body, everything works together beautifully. And Dree, you said that succinctly before.
The emotions are really, really powerful.
Yep. When we restrict our emotional energy through, and we do this a lot, at least I do, suppression and repression, just kind of hiding from it, then we create those big energy blocks, and I put them all, but that's in our etheric, our emotional field, as well as our physical body.
Very interesting. I can see how that works.
And you were just speaking to that before.
You know, one of the things for me too is a friend of mine was talking to me or teaching me how to have that dialogue with my heart. So I have my mind and I have my heart, which is where the seat of the soul is. And I had to get to a place where I was ready to remind myself that the seat of my soul, my heart, is what is truly in charge. This does not always line up with this. More times than often it doesn't at all. So what was I going to listen to? What was I going to let rule? Was I going to let my heart rule? Or was I going to continue to let this rule? And sometimes this isn't very nice. The more I practiced this and bringing this into submission of this in connection with the divine, the more I began to see changes in my life and in my thought processes and things around me. And as far as the financial piece, there was even little things coming to my awareness, even if I was sweeping the floor. If I was sweeping a penny up into the thing and throwing it away with the dust, what was I telling the universe about my appreciation and respect for abundance?
I love that. And before, it's like, you know, we think that our brain controls it all, and it's actually our heart. You know, that's the first thing that's beating after we're conceived. And that's where our energy center, our power center, our, I call it sacred chamber, all within there. And that's where our knowingness and our inner wisdom is, and our spiritual intelligence. ready to dissolve our energy blocks. How? I love this part. I had fun place.
Yes, how? Show us.
Do we need a nicotine patch?
No.
I like this one. We talked about it this morning.
A chocolate
A
patch.
chocolate patch. No.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
So here's the energy block, and guess what? We have a radical forgiveness patch.
That is so sweet.
So we get to use that. And the radical forgiveness patch works in our energy field to dissolve the energy we're hanging on to. Don't we hang on to it? We hang on to our stories, our victimizing, we're hanging on. I'm right.
Yeah, it's that heavy energy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. And so when we do that, when we get to dissolve that and have that flow back again, that beautiful flow that's here for us all the time, we block it ourselves, and then we're restored to loving energy.
That's awesome.
Right. It makes me feel lighter just by looking at it.
You know what's really interesting is I'm hearing right now, for me, just learning that what I'm being told inside is that I cannot carry this heavy energy into higher realms of consciousness and have experience of higher realms of consciousness in my life, of love and abundance and stuff. I can't carry that with me and experience that stuff. You can't, it's impossible.
Right, and it's ready to be released.
Right.
It's releasing the incoherent energy that's here to be released, that
That's why it's
no
blocked.
longer serves us. So this is the fun part. Get to each get to have one of these,
Yay.
and you can start the pass around here, and you can start the pass around here. And you get to take these with you. I wanted you to have a goodie to take with you today.
Here you go, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
This was interesting as I was getting prepared for this. I was using my printer and I had just gotten some fresh ink, and you know how that all goes. And I just was going to run off for myself the study and the plan for the book study and what I was going to do each time. So I ran those papers off. And then I was going to run off the 4-step radical forgiveness process because I had promised it to everybody who came. And guess what? No ink. So, and this was, I was doing it later last night. There wasn't anywhere I could run. Guess what? My dear husband, he goes, how's it going? I said, well, it's fine. I'm just learning to forgive myself because I think I really did set it up pretty good. But, stuff happens. And so I was just kind of lightly telling him, well, I'll figure out a way to do it. And he said, you know what? If it's not too many, why don't I just take it and I can just make copies with my printer copy machine. I have ink in mine. So here he was late last night making these copies for you. So I have to thank my dear husband. What I did with these is, and I'm going to put them on the back of my business card for myself, but I put it on a little sticky note and I look at it. Now I pretty much know it. But I love it because it's just 4 steps and you get to use it right now if something comes up. Okay? And step 1 is, wow, look what I created. Like rain in the car or whatever it is. And that reminds us that, yeah, we get to take responsibility because we're co-creating our life. It reminds us that we are creators of our own reality. And yet it's free of self-judgment and criticism. This real, And so I love that one. I do that a lot. Oh my goodness, look what I created. And then number 2 is, because immediately, you know, that human part of me goes there, that I notice my judgments and I decide to love myself anyway. So that really is our task of accepting what is here now and the imperfection of our own humanity. You know, accepting like, oh my goodness, you know, I'm human. That's an experience, and I almost made it mean something, you know, because but I'm noticing my judgment, and I love myself anyway. So I'm not going to stay in this deep, dark, dank place that I used to years ago. That, you know, I just would judge myself, and I would be so ashamed and so embarrassed. It's still, even if I talk about it, it's this heaviness, and it's like, ooh, now I get to forgive myself. Step 3 is I am willing to see the perfection in the situation. And that one, Patricia again talked about that today, of what is here for us. And for so many, there is so much showing up. And some of it is very, very painful. But I'm willing to at least begin to see the perfection in the situation. And this willingness step is essential to any genuine forgiveness process. And I am willing to see the hand of God in this situation because it's showing up to be healed. So I get to see that now. I get to see that perfection in the hand of God in all. So it's easy to be in the here and now and just breathe. Okay, get to see that. And I love this one, step 4. I choose the power of peace. And power is one thing for myself that I just, you know, would feel that I'm not able to accomplish this, I can't do it perfectly, and just looking at, I get to be peaceful, and there's so much power in that. So I love the power of peace. The power of peace is found when we are totally present in the now, in the moment. So we're here in our bodies, experiencing all that's here for us. And we don't have to judge it. We can just notice it and be with it. And then also we're totally aware of our feelings. Just, you know. So I love those. Look at what I created. I notice my judgment, and I love myself anyway. I'm willing, sometimes I have to say, to begin to see the perfection in the situation, because sometimes it's really hard. And I choose the power of peace. That one just opens up so much. So take that with you and enjoy it. It really, I don't know, it really has made a difference. And I've shared it with so many people too. I'll just talk with them and they'll be really in a hard time. And I said, can I share these 4 steps with you? And so I've just shared it just off the cuff. And I think it's been very helpful.
Carolyn,
Yes.
is there a little kind of a brief example you could give of going through those states?
Supported and loved in each moment. And I feel that through this process. And I think, you know, the piece, most of you had talked about it who shared it, the whole piece about the self-forgiveness, the self-acceptance, forgiving myself for so harshly judging myself. I mean, really, it was abuse. You know, I abused myself. And I would never treat anybody else that way. So, choosing the power of peace. Beautiful.
That's interesting too, because even in your story and all the steps and stuff like that, you can apply it with so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
And had you not done that, what could something like that really do to your life in your future? Live a miserable existence. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We're in choice.
Absolutely.
We could either be a victim victim and
Right.
create all this crazy chaotic story of
Right.
why,
I did something wrong.
right? Or they did it.
Can't do it wrong. Yeah.
And live
blame
like
them,
that.
blame
I've
myself.
lived like that before. It's horrible. It's like a nightmare.
Mhm.
It's literally like a nightmare.
It is, and we do it to ourselves. You know, God, Spirit, the universe loves us and sees us. You know, we're perfectly imperfect, or imperfectly perfect is how I like to look at it. You know, if we're looking at our soul, and you know, we're having this spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings, and we decided to come and have this human experience. So. So that is the main part, and there is so much. I have a lot of things up here that there is a Native American, it's called a radical forgiveness ceremony, and it's a 3-hour ceremony, very, very powerful. And you can go away, basically, it's seeing the love and the perfection in each other, and we get to forgive ourselves, and we get to hold that space for each other. It's very, very, very beautiful. And that is something that we're going to be offering too. And in fact, there's a gal in California. I'm the only one in Oregon who's certified to teach the radical forgiveness and to do the ceremonies and, you know, to do the one-on-one. But this gal in California has been doing it for quite a while, and she is going to see if she can come, because it'll be, you know, a perfect way to go from, okay, I've done all this studying, I've done this online, I've taken the tests, I've done the tools on a daily basis, and how do I go from that to this big, you know, that's so amazing. I'm so excited to do it. And she will probably come and do that for us, how many people would like to come. And that's, like I said, 3 hours. She also does like a half a day and a day miracles workshop, and I will be certified to do that too. But anyway, a lot of neat things are coming, and for now, it's always good to begin with a book study group. And so it's so funny because I just finally said, let's put it down. And Tuesdays opened up. It's like everything is so busy around here, both upstairs and downstairs. There's stuff going on. And Deb had Tuesdays
That's right, for
scheduled for some classes she was going to do, and she decided not to, and we happened to be here at the same time. And she said, you can have that time slot, because we couldn't, you know, Shelley and I were trying to look at what's available. So anyway, we decided Tuesdays, and it'll be from 6:30 to 8:30. And
Excuse me, what's the name of the lady in California?
you know, I could get that to you,
Okay.
because I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do have it at home. Do you have a card or
Yes.
something that great, I will get that to you, and if you wanna just write that
I will.
notation down, it'd be great. Yeah, she's excellent. The gal who is the right-hand person of Colin Tipping, who takes care of all the educational and all the students going through, she said she's about my favorite person in the whole world. And I went, woohoo! So, you know, I get to learn some more from her. I'm really excited about that. So it'll be 2 hours, and May 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, June 3rd and 10th, and then I'm going to have a bonus night on June 17th, and it's a surprise, and it will be fun. So actually, there are 7 sessions, and the cost includes the book Radical Forgiveness, Making Room for the Miracle, and I ordered the books, and they're coming this week. And anyone who signs up for the class, in fact, I have a sign-up sheet, and makes the investment, there we go, makes the investment of $90, I will get that book to you as soon as they arrive, whether it be here or whatever, so you can start before that. But let's see. Okay, thank you. And Marilyn, I already put. She's so cute. She said, "You have room." I already
I sent her a note.
Yeah.
In church.
Yeah. So anyway, if anyone else knows for sure, I can take. She said take 5 or 6, so I put 6 down. It's going to be a small group, and I think we're going to get a lot out of it. And what is said is that probably I'll get more out of it than the others. I'm hoping that others do too. So anyway, I'll just pass it around. You want me to start here? And if you're okay, where did my pen go? Here's
There was
one.
one on the clipboard.
There we go.
Can you tell us more about what we'll be experiencing on those classes?
Yes, I didn't even bring all of my things along, but we will do the book, definitely, and we will do so many chapters that we will read. Included in each one of these is a lot of radical self-forgiveness, worksheets, procedures and tools that we would be doing, you know, as homework. I like to call it home play, that we get to do,
Like that much better.
you know, and we can bring our experiences. So it's going to be very experiential. And let's see, I was just trying to think. I'm just going to read this because it's here. My book, my Radical Forgiveness book, and it has lots in it that I wrote as I was reading it. I love this proclamation that we get to take. I completely forgive myself, Carolyn, and accept myself as a loving, generous, and creative being. I release all need to hold on to emotions and ideas of lack and limitation connected to the past. I withdraw my energy from the past and release all barriers against the love and abundance I know I have in this moment. I create my life, and I am empowered to be myself again, to unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all of my power and magnificence. So we will be doing, I have in here, I need to nurture myself, believe the perfection and divine purpose exists in every situation, come into loving resonance with all of life. I don't know, it would be going past, I would love to, but I don't, because it would be going past, I would love to read to you, let's see, it might be too long, but there's a Jill's story in here that all of his books start out with, and it's amazing because it basically, it's a true account of what had happened, and the process can be used because it's so completely different. And this woman was in a lot of emotional pain, and basically she said things are not good at home, Jeff and I might be splitting up, he has totally turned away from me, says it's all my fault, I feel totally shut out and ignored, giving you a real brief version. Codependent enough to badly need their approval and love. I find it hard to believe that he would treat her so cruelly. And so basically what he did is he held that space for her because, you know, when you're in so much emotional pain, I mean, that's what Patricia does for us, right? When I came in, you know, she didn't say, oh, it's all, you know, it's all divinely planned and, you know, that sort of a thing. But holding that space and allowing, because one of the steps that's so important is to feel the feelings and to have that person there for you to hold that space of love and acceptance and validation. You know, I can, like I just felt that now, you know, that I can feel the hurt and feel what you're going through. And going on to that step more is we get to, there's so many step processes that are so important, and it's the 3 letters, and one of them is writing it to that person, could even be yourself, that, you know, is hurting you the most, that's getting in the way, and like, he did that to me, sort of a thing, and get it all out. No spiritual overlays. And that's the part that's so important, because that takes care of our human need, you know, our innocent little self that, you know, we've experienced this, you know, pain in our life, our stuckness. And you just get it all out. You never give that letter to anyone. But to have someone validate that. So we'll be working on that. And then the next one is writing a letter of more seeing, you know, could I look at this in a different way, you know, from a spiritual viewpoint, rather than just the, I'm hurt, he did it to me, it's his fault, and he's all to blame, and I'm the victim. And then finally going on to really looking at it a different way. Like, could this be God's divine plan? And how she learned to look at it and how I looked at it is that my husband is my divine healing angel. And we made agreements, you know, before we came here. And we just, we're mirroring that for each other. We're being that for each other.
Yes.
So instead of, you know, wow, he has hurt me, blah, 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 blah. I look at my husband and I have so much compassion for him. And I'm just thinking, wow, he took on a hard job. You know, mirroring.
And vice versa.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we are. So it's all that compassion, and regardless of, you know, what happens in the end or what it looks like, you know, I will always love him and have
That's a really
compassion.
beautiful thing too, because especially when 2 people like soulmates and stuff like that, they actually bring up some of the hardest stuff for us to look at and mirror in us, and it's like, oh, in that place of vulnerability, when our heart is just feeling all of that, and we're seeing ourselves in it, and we're seeing what we've done, and we're seeing what we would like to do, and what we're
Right.
capable of, and what we're not meeting in that moment, and allowing that energetically to actually be released, and knowing that that person, that soul in our life is the one that was able to touch that,
Yes.
and nobody else did.
That's right.
That person was our mirror.
That's right.
And it's very, very, very powerful and very loving if 2 people can actually realize that that's what's going on between those 2 individuals. Lots of times people just, they don't do it, just like what you were
Right.
saying, you know, and then it ends up being a war, and, you know,
Yeah.
they fall apart, whatever, because they're not willing to actually see that.
Right. And if you go through and that relationship splits one way or the other, and you could go away feeling very badly about it, having not loving feelings at all, I don't even like to use the other words, they're heavy, that I always knew this. I always knew that if I didn't work out within myself and then with that other person, that I would still, that lesson would still be there for another relationship.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah, it's not necessarily them, there's others that
Right.
will step up to the plate. I
Right.
agree with that.
right, absolutely.
If you want them to or not.
So it's like, yay.
So generous.
Yes.
It's nice
So
when
loving
you
on their
do
part.
have that awareness with somebody though, and
Yeah.
regardless of what's going on, you know that about each other, and
Mhm.
it's good.